Welcome to This Morning on Asakhe podcast, your daily dose of insightful conversation on current affairs, politics, and social issues. Please share and also follow us on social media at Site ZW. Now, stay tuned to today's episode.
A very good morning to you guys. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of This Morning on Asakhe. My name is Brighton. We're back again, and I'm joined by Nonisa Mapiwa this morning.
Good morning, Brighton, and good morning to our guests. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. As we talk about bus and Kombi drivers will have to be aged 30 and above. What are your thoughts on that?
So there's an article coming through. It says the bus and Kombi drivers will have to be aged 30 and above under new plans to raise the minimum age for all public service drivers as government moves to tackling the rising number of traffic accidents and fatalities largely attributed to reckless driving. By increasing the minimum age, government hopes to ensure that only mature and experienced drivers are behind the wheel of public service vehicles. This move comes as the country grapples with over 2,000 road traffic accidents related deaths annually, with negligent driving behind the leading cause. Speaking during the question and answer session in Senate on last Thursday, Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development Felix Mona said the ministry was trying to see how it could synchronize the age limit of those who would then drive public service vehicles. I'm sure the legal department in my ministry is working with the Attorney General in that regard, and we are saying for public service, for public vehicles, we're striking to 25 years, and we're now advocating to increase that to 30 years. He said during the Senate question and answer. That's the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development.
We have so many people at that age, between 25 and 30. Actually, from 25 years going upwards, we have so many young people who are not really working, and some of them have turned to maybe driving public transport, and some would have started driving before they were 25, maybe from 16 or from 18, that's when they got maybe their license, and then they can upgrade later on when they are now 25 and going onwards. So the issue is unemployment, and people some are really depending on this for a job.
But if we're moving on towards like embracing maybe what you call this signs, right, road signs and so on. If we're embracing all those, even the highway code now, we are fully now embracing SATAC signs and so on. Why can't we also embrace the SATAC age limit for drivers? Good morning to you, Douglas.
Good morning, Asakhe. I don't think it's the right move. 30 years, you're really quite old. If the government is trying to reduce the number of accidents that are happening on our road, they definitely need to introduce some psychological testing on the driving test. And not only that, when you finish passing the ABCs, which cars goes first, which cars goes next, and then you get your learners and your provisional, and you're driving. My host country, they do a very lengthy driving license. You first start with the learners where you learn, and then after you've passed your learners, and then you go to the provisional one, which you will read provisional. It will take you more than a year for you driving, with condition that you don't drive at night. You've got a limited speed limit. You've got limited passengers. The passengers cannot be drinking as well. And then from there on, after you've finished the 1 year, then you go to the second year with the provisional green, which will take you another 2 years. And then you go and do another test again before eventually you get a full license. And then if anything that you have done, you lose your license. So it teaches you that, you have to work harder to be able to get this license. And there are points, the point system, they use the points-based system. If you're caught speeding, if you're caught doing reckless driving, you're caught without seatbelt, the point system, and you lose your license and you can't travel anywhere. So I think we need to change our psychology, not just to make people pass A, B, C, Ds and things, and that this is causing somebody who's just a Kombi driver, they're learning to maneuver the vehicle when it's stationary at the ranks. The next thing they go on there, they can maneuver it on the drums and they've got a driving license. But mentally, they're not really mature. So even making them 30 years old, it still doesn't change their mindset as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda Douglas. Quite interesting submission there, Brighton. And he also reminded me, we've heard of, plans to upgrade our systems, have things like AMA e-toll as well. With some of the things that Mandaza spoke to, which might actually help, because people will know that although there is no policeman standing right there watching me, the camera is watching.
Right. Also, going back to that article there, however, Zimbabwe Union of Drivers and Conductors, Zutuco President Frederick Minga said while the proposal was noble, the country does not have a lot of drivers that are over 25 years old. While we understand the need for more mature drivers, we have very mature drivers between 25 and 30 years, he said. The majority of drivers who are being reckless and are below the age of 25, and we propose maintaining the 25-year-old limit for small public service vehicles. Quite interesting what he's saying there. Frederick Minga, the ZUTCO president, Zimbabwe Union of Drivers and Conductors. I didn't know there was an association, man. Drivers and Conductors Association. Quite interesting thing.
Well, let's hear from Brisky.
Thanks, Nonanga. How are you, Brighton? Nina, personally, my first question is, do we have maybe proven data that the number of accidents that we have had over the years have been as a result of maybe people who are below the ages of 30 driving reckless? Is that maybe proven in terms of maybe research data, or based on the number of accidents that we have had over the years? Is it verified ukuthi khona ngabantu who are below the ages of 30? Number one. Number two, is it also true that all the accidents that we have currently as a country, they are a result of reckless driving? Have we also factored in maybe the issues of the state of our road infrastructure is also maybe a cause of accidents that are there? To me, we cannot have just maybe straight jacket policy to say it is because of age. This issue of ageism, to me, it's somewhat ungrounded and unfounded, so to say. Moreover, the majority of those young people, also, before we pass that policy, we have to factor in, all right, should we say these people are no longer maybe working as drivers? Where are they also going? So, in as much as we want to come up with a policy maybe to minimize or to do away with the number of accidents that we have been experiencing, but it has to be a well thought on policy. What do we do about those young people? I would concur with the first speaker to say it's not an issue of maybe just age, or to say if someone is now 30, they can now be a good driver. How maybe fluid or how rigid our traffic laws is the police also maybe doing enough to enforce imithetho yonke that is there on the road? Have those things been considered? Some of the issues, abantu bankona who can be driving, most of them don't even have licenses. So it's not about maybe being under 30 or above 30 for someone to be a good driver. But are these drivers really maybe following imithetho ekhona? To me, it's the issue of law more than the issue of maybe age. Thank you, Endo.
Well, thank you so much, Brisky, for sharing your views and thoughts with us this morning.
Yeah, a lot has been said. Many comments are coming through on the issue of correlation between age and negligent driving and so on. Quite interesting what people are raising this one. But also, as I said earlier on, let's fix our roads, and also let's ensure proper training is given to this driver. Good morning to you, Jabulo.
Good morning, Brighton and Nonhlanhla. I hope you guys are all good. Ungakhangela amabhasi ethu, ikakhulu buses that are driving, la amabhasi, usually you'll get guys that are over the age of 30, some are 40, some are 50 driving these buses. But if you go and look in between, you'll find ukuthi we have had most of the accidents happening kakhulu amalokuzeni ama-international buses ethu ayenzakala lapha eSouth Africa. Zimbabwean buses ashayelela eZimbabwe khona ngale futhi ashayisa abulala abantu sibili. But you'll find the drivers there are over the age of 30. So should we prescribe and say abantu bonke aba over lokuzeni aba over 30 esibabonile bedriver la, we come to a conclusion yokuba hayi, because esibona ama-accidents amaningi in between Zimbabwe and South Africa, and people over 30 bedriver, do we come to a certainty and start saying no, asafuna abantu over 30, because we have seen a lot of accidents. I think we need to sit down and prescribe proper and train our people proper ukuthi babekwazi ukudrive, and you conscientize, because the accident, the other thing about an accident, Brighton and Nonhlanhla, an accident, we need to check ukubana who caused the accident in the first place, because an accident sometimes on the road, it might not even be caused by the young man who's driving transport yondian, could be caused by a reckless driver who has been in front of them, or something that could have happened and an accident happens. So we need to be very, very careful how we want to prescribe direction, instead of just drawing a line and saying if you are below 30, because if you are below the age of 30, it doesn't, or you are above 30, it doesn't mean you are going to be a good driver. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Jabulo, for that. Let's go to our next speaker there. Good morning to you, Dube.
Good morning to everyone. In Zimbabwe, we have got those as well. If you talk of dangerous goods driving, it is there. If you talk of what they call, is it PDP in South Africa, we have got it as defensive driving. Our problem basically in our country is that laws are not enforced. To start with, if someone wants a provisional to start your driving, it is not about you passing. It is not about you knowing the rules, the laws of the road. It is about how much you have. And if you don't have that money, you could have scored 100%, knowing your books in and out, your ABCs. But then, at the end of the day, maungena mali, then you don't make it until you raise that money. Then VID gives you provisional. Then you go on to driving. I have a friend who I knew. Unfortunately, he's late now, but not from driving. This guy, Shalele, in this town of ours, and he sent his papers to Harare, and class 1 came. He never had an idea of driving and stuff, but then he says, I've got my class 1. Let's say ukuthi ngabe wahlala, say a year or two and stuff, and then he comes and ebuye ezodinga umsebenzi webus. And then someone says, no, you have matured and blah, But then the background of it is that no one knows that this guy bought this thing. And these are the people that we put on the road. So the problem of that we have in Zimbabwe is not about age, is not about, it is basically the rot, the corruption that is in our system. So let us not talk about ukuthi thina eZimbabwe kasenzi this, kasenzi that. It is all there, but there is no one to enforce. Abantu bayadlula amaphoyisa benze, probably an overload, begijima and all stuff. Uyabuya afika nika umpholisa i-drink. And thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dube, for that contribution this morning. Yeah, indaba lawlessness keeps coming up, Brighton, and try to my license.
Yeah, people agree on this issue of saying what age, they're saying age must be increased, some are saying age must be lowered. Someone said the reasoning of lack of reasoning of our leaders. So age is effective on how competent and safely someone is driving. And someone says ingqondo zomuntu at a certain age zilokuba natural maturity somehow. Kodwa bakhona abanye okhulu abangavuthwanga emgwaqweni lapha. Okay, cool. Let's move on to our next speaker. Good morning, Tuboy.
Hey, my brother, good morning, good morning. The same institution, they allow illegal mining. Now they want to jump on the transport sector. Does that make sense? Because if you see those age that they're talking about, 25 to 30, they are the ones that are going down to do the Korokosa. Something illegal. So many are dying there. Now they are attached on another sector. Because the life that is being lost by someone under the ground is the same life that can be lost on the road. How can someone wait for 30 years to be a Kombi driver? Does that make sense to you? Someone can wait to be 65 years, then he passes A level. Are you going to throw a party? The government is not offering any employment except to cause illegal. Then they are stopping someone who has acquired the driver's license, who has acquired his own vehicle to be on the road. They should stop driving, go into Korokoza, go underneath, die there, perish. We close that mine, we open another one. Because that's the same guys, but you are not opening eyes. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Tupoy, for sharing with us your views and thoughts.
Point I'm sticking to it is that the more you get older, the more you lose your eyesight. You can't see properly. So why should we increase our age, the age limit for drivers? To say, ugogo at 80 can drive, but ugogo nyamaza sabona kahle kodwa. So can I trust him to drive me and say this is the mature, experienced driver? And we've come to the end of the show for this morning, guys. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Myself, Brighton Ngube.
And Nonhlanhla Mapigwa. It's bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode. For feedback, you can contact us on 263 777 470017. Don't forget to follow and like our social media pages.